President Trump announces that his White House counsel will leave this fall. Who is going to replace Don McGahn? We'll discuss. Plus, Paul Manafort's defense team might have a trick up its sleeve for Manafort's second trial. What could that be? And President Trump was reportedly talking about firing Attorney General Jeff Sessions this month. What are the odds that Sessions makes it to the midterms? We're going to be discussing that story and much more right now on this second hour of America Talks Live. All right, thanks for hanging around with us in this second hour of America Talks Live. If you're just joining, welcome. And as you can see, we have our good friend, former federal prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Thank you for inviting
us.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
Founder of Freedom Watch.
Studio, founder of Freedom Watch. Busy attorney these days.
But
with
we
everything
have
going
him
on.
here in person.
He's here with us. We've got a lot to talk
Lots
about.
to do.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about with Larry.
Yeah, including our top story. So let's get right to it. And that is White House counsel Don McGahn leaving the White House this fall. There was a report, and then finally the president responding to that. Trump confirming that news on Twitter earlier today when he posted White House counsel Don McGahn will be leaving his position in the fall, shortly after the confirmation, hopefully, of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court. I have worked with Don for a long time and truly appreciate his service. So Axios was the first one to kind of report this, and the president then goes on Twitter, confirms
Minutes
this.
later, really.
Yeah, minutes later. Good move? Surprise? Anything?
I don't know that it's a one move one way or the other. Axios, of course, is negative generally towards President Trump. I mean, it's the left wing. Yeah. But I wonder why now? Why is he announcing it now when the president seems so vulnerable? And I wonder whether there was an impasse at the White House where he was maybe let go.
What could it be? One of the things Axios reported, though, could this be much ado about nothing? McGahn, if he leaves when he's said to leave, he gets Gorsuch, he gets Kavanaugh. He's integrally involved in both of those processes. Emmett Flood is there, a disciple of his, or really a partner of his in the White House, who he's recommending for special counsel. Could this be that McGahn's 50 years old? Maybe he wants to go make some real money.
Could
He's
be.
capped out at 180 grand in the White House. Maybe it's his time.
That's probably the case.
Well, that doesn't chump change to a lot of people.
Exactly.
No, but to a guy like McGahn, who could go out and make a couple of $1 million a year.
But why announce it now? Why during this period with the Manafort conviction and everything else? I think the president may be upset that he met with Mueller and he may have disclosed information that he should not have disclosed to Mueller, which is going to prolong this witch hunt. So that's just my guess. And from what I've read about Emmett Flood, he seems to be pretty good in terms of an internal counsel for the White House.
Which, speaking of which, he wants Flood to replace him. Good move.
McGahn wants Flood, yeah.
It would appear to be from what I've read. I don't know Flood. But what the president does need are better outside lawyers, as I've said over and over again. And if the president gets subpoenaed, as Alan Dershowitz is predicting will be done soon, I think that may be good because it'll give the president an opportunity to challenge the legitimacy of Mueller's investigation.
Now, what do you think about a subpoena? Do you think the president wins that one at the Supreme Court?
I think what he'll win, he may not win the subpoena because there is precedent for presidents having to testify. But
at least in front of a grand jury, right?
What I think, what I think he will win is that Mueller has no authority to proceed the way he's been doing this. And that's where I take issue with Giuliani and the others, is that they go out on TV and all they do is bloviate, so to speak, to use a word from Bill O'Reilly. And they're not taking any action. And the other thing the president can be doing is bringing a lawsuit, and he has nothing to lose here, with regard to the legal surveillance, which was a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Mueller, I believe, participated in some of this illegal surveillance, and I think it's still ongoing.
Early on, you saying before he was
right. Let me add one other thing that's breaking news. I just got an email from the lawyer of the Department of Justice because Mueller's office was supposed to produce communications with the media by September 4th by court order, Judge Emmett Sullivan.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a week before I predicted this, there's an email glitch. They can't do it. Why? Because Mueller's proceeding with the prosecution of Manafort with probable impeachment reports, maybe the indictment of Roger Stone. And if we can show there are grand jury leaks, that's criminal. That could put derail everything he's doing. So that was so predictable. I've asked the judge for a evidentiary hearing in the next week or so.
And this is Judge Ellis.
Judge Emmett Sullivan has this case.
Emmett Sullivan.
Yeah, because Ellis, that's over.
Ellis is Manafort.
Next one.
Right, more games and obstruction of the Department of Justice.
Ellis and Sullivan are both relatively tough on the government.
Yes, you know,
That's why
Sullivan
I-
is a Clinton appointee to his credit.
Yeah.
He's an honest Clinton appointee.
All right, talking about judges, Larry, not to interrupt, you have had some choice words for Amy Berman Jackson, Judge Amy Berman Jackson.
I would say.
We're going to be talking about Paul Manafort's trial. So Manafort's defense team is saying that they've got a Law and Crime actually is reporting. Yeah. His defense team says they're going to have a major strategy shift going from Ellis's courtroom into Berman Jackson's courtroom. Why do you think they're
we got to talk about the first strategy.
Well, the first strategy
was basically no defense. We're not going to call any witnesses, nothing. But that may have worked because of that particular judge, that particular venue.
Right.
Now they're saying, going back to John's point, that it's probably not going to work with this judge, but they're still debating whether or not they should have a defense strategy or not.
Here's the thing. What does Manafort have to lose at this point?
Well,
He's facing 80 years. So I think what the strategy is, Manafort takes the witness stand. That's probably it. Now, yesterday...
Why would you do that?
Because he's already facing it. He's going to get a pardon. I mean, guaranteed he's getting a pardon.
No, but he makes a point because he's already convicted facing 80 years. He's already got a life sentence.
What does he have to lose?
What does he have to lose? Try to play the sympathy of the jury.
More likely, I have always heard, and I just want to know because you're experienced at this, I've always heard don't ever put.
Yeah, if they're facing no time.
Yeah.
But when the guy's facing 80 years, what does he have to lose?
Well, you can put somebody on the stand if you're confident your client's going to tell the truth, and Manafort has no reason not to at this point.
Right.
So, you know, Amy Berman Jackson, by the way, is a nightmare. I've had her a number of cases. I've brought a case for wrongful death for the parents of Ty Woods and Sean Smith, Hillary Clinton. That's in the news too today with China hacking. How do you think the terrorists got the coordinates of the ambassador to kill them all?
Yep.
Well,
So Amy Berman Jackson dismissed that case on the eve of Memorial Day. Gold Star parent. She's highly partisan. She is really cruel. I mean, she kept Manafort in isolation.
Yeah, but might this new information? So let's talk about this report from the Daily Caller. The report is claiming that the Chinese hacked Hillary Clinton's email server. And President Trump tweeted, quote, report just out, China hacked Hillary Clinton's private email server. Are they sure it wasn't Russians? Just kidding. What are the odds that the FBI and DOJ are right on top of this? Actually, a very big story, much classified information. He followed that up with Hillary Clinton's emails, many of which are classified information, got hacked by China. Next move better be by the FBI and DOJ, or after all of their other missteps, Comey, McCabe, Stroh, Page, or FISA, dirty dossier, their credibility will be gone forever. Now, this all comes after the Daily Caller also reported, I mean, it just gets worse and worse, that a Chinese company wrote code that was embedded in Clinton's email server, which was kept at her home in upstate New York, Chappaqua. The code reportedly made an instant copy of nearly all of her emails and forwarded them to a Chinese entity. Now, Politico reported, I found these stories, Politico reported back in, I think it was 2015, that the State Department warned employees to stop using personal email accounts for work back in 2011.
That's critical.
Yeah, they note that came, the outlet notes, the Politico notes, that all came after Google revealed a wave of hacking attacks against accounts belonging to senior U.S. officials and human rights activists. Now, on the heels of that, the New York Times did a story last year, and this is really, to me, a smoking gun, in which we find out that our entire intelligence asset network in China is essentially assassinated or jailed between 2010 and 2012, the exact time that Hillary's server was being hacked. And as Larry noted, Benghazi, a secret CIA annex in Benghazi, was attacked in 2012.
Yeah, and it's not just that, John. Even Comey admitted that Hillary's email server was hacked by at least 5 adverse foreign interests.
Right.
You got to believe the Iranians hacked it. You got to believe the Russians hacked it. And even some of our allies, the Israelis are very good. They wanted to know what was going on, too.
Larry, hold that thought. We're going to go quickly to a live. Larry Klayman. Larry's still with us. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry to interrupt you before we went there. So we were talking about the Chinese pretty much decimating the U.S. intelligence network between 2010 and 2012 in China. The Benghazi compound, a secret CIA annex, being attacked in 2012, all directly in the middle of Hillary Clinton's server being hacked by nefarious actors. You were telling us who they possibly were.
Iran. I mean, there's been a lot of reports about Iran. They're very sophisticated with cyber warfare and the such. Russia, other powers. I'm sure everybody had her information. Even allies want to know what we're doing over there. And I would suspect Israel had it too. Israel wasn't responsible for Benghazi, obviously.
No, but Iran.
I'm a supporter of Israel.
Iran probably had something to do with that.
Yeah, and I think they gave up the coordinates. And when I sued Hillary, it's up now at the Supreme Court. petition for writ of certiorari. What we basically said is because the private email server gave rise to, in all likelihood, the coordinates of Christopher Stevens, the ambassador, and our client's sons, Gold Star parents, that's negligent wrongful death. And it's very important. She didn't have immunity from that as Secretary of State because this is a crime. What she was doing is criminal using that server.
So will we ever see, with this new information, will we ever see any justice when it comes to Hillary Clinton?
You know, I keep punching, you know. This
that
is why
you do.
That's why we're starting citizens' grand juries later in the next 4 weeks in Texas, because the American people need to mete out justice.
But will they be
themselves.
symbolic, or is there legal precedent for them to have meat?
There is legal precedent. Justice Scalia in 1992, in a case United States versus Williams, said the grand jury belongs to the American people, not the three branches of government. Now, what we hope to do is to get indictments, convictions, sentencing, and then ask President Trump to enforce them. And we could, in theory, do citizens' arrests. We wouldn't do anything violently.
I mean, my question would be, why would the judiciary be able to convene 16 to 23 people on a grand jury and have that carry more weight than 16 to 23 Americans getting together here in the same testimony 10 seconds?
Right, and we're going to pick them neutrally. I'm not going to cook it by, you know, getting all conservatives and pro-Trump people. We'll take it off of voter rolls like bingo, and we'll figure out. We'll have people making an honest assessment of this. But there's so much evidence out there. This is why I've been saying we don't need more documents.
Yeah.
Right.
We got enough evidence now.
Follow that. We're running out of time.
We are, Larry.
Klayman, thank you so much for joining us.
We'll have
more of Senator
Thank you.